Hi everyone and welcome to the OnTheBallBets.com YouTube channel. My name is Mike and in this video we're going to be looking at highly requested sort of tutorial or walkthrough, which is how to place accumulator bets on Bet365. Now Bet365 is one of the biggest sports books or online bookies, whatever you want to call it, in the world. They're massive across a huge amount of countries, and one of the reasons for doing so is they've got such a huge amount of different sports, different events, and within those events different betting markets available, which makes Bet365 a great bookie to use for your accumulator bets. So as you can see right now we're using Bet365, so the first step is to arrive at the Bet365 homepage, which should look something like this. If you're interested in accumulator bets, you might have done a little bit of betting before, so you should be fairly familiar with what you're looking at here. If you're not, on the homepage you'll generally find odds for upcoming events. Usually the big football matches are close to kick-off, or the next couple of horse races. It depends what time of year it is and what's going on. If it's the summer and Wimbledon's on, then you'll see tennis listed here. Before showing you how to place an accumulator bet though, we need to decide what we're going to bet on. Accumulator bets are really common across numerous sports, but they are more synonymous with football betting. So we're going to use football here, or soccer as it's known on Bet365. We can find soccer from the list of sports over on the left hand side. Once we're on the main soccer page, we're going to go for the elite list of fixtures, which is basically the upcoming games in the biggest leagues like the Premier League, Serie A, La Liga, etc. So let's look at the first round of the highly anticipated new Premier League season. A quick note here is that you can use most markets to form an accumulator, and not all of these selections must be from the same market. So you can pick, kind of keep mixing things up by having a couple of teams to win, maybe some over 2.5 goals in there, maybe some both teams to score there. Have a look at the matches and have a look at what you think is most likely to happen. It's sometimes worth putting those in an accumulator. But for the purpose of this video, let's keep things simple and stick with the good old full-time result market, which is also known as win, draw, win, or final match result, or something like that with other bookies. It's obviously the most popular one. Now we need some selections, so let's add a few in. We're going to go with some likely winners, which is what most people would obviously do. So we've got Liverpool in there, Spurs at home to beat Southampton, Newcastle at home to newly promoted Nottingham Forest, and lastly Leicester at home to Brentford. Obviously not much thought has gone into these selections, but it's just an example that we're going to use for this video. If you look at the bet slip at the bottom of the page, we can see that we've set up a fourfold accumulator, which basically means our accumulator has 4 selections. For example, if you were to add 10 selections, it would just be described as a 10-fold. 9 selections, it would be described as a 9-fold, and so on. If you have 3 selections, bookies refer to it as a treble, and if you just added 2 selections to your accumulator, you could call it a 2-fold, but bookies will refer to it as a double. It just means there's 2 bets in there. So in this case, we've obviously got a 4-fold. So the bet slip is going to detail the odds and the games that we're betting on. It also reveals that we'll receive a 10% bonus should the accumulator win. This is because Bet365 currently increases the winnings on soccer accumulators containing 4 or more teams. So have a look around, whether it's Bet365 that you're using or some of the other bookies, because betting on football accumulators is a really popular thing. They often have different offers available. Some of them offer refunds, where just one team of your accumulator might lose. Other bookies will give you like a little boost or a promotion. It does depend on the match market. So where we said earlier that you could mix up betting on different events during the games, such as both teams score and things like that. Sometimes the bonuses or the refunds, the offers that bookies have, will often only apply to the full-time result, which means betting on the team to win, which is what we've done in this case. So if we were to put a £10 bet on this accumulator, as the video shows, you'd get £63.37 back, which includes the £5.76 bonus amount. So you can see why betting on an accumulator is popular, because if we were just going to go stick a tenner on some of those teams, we generally wouldn't win much back because they're the favourites. But by combining it, which is what people like to do in an accumulator, it makes it a bit more interesting. Obviously, it makes it a lot harder for the accumulator to win, because you're relying on the 4 teams to win in this case. But you do obviously get the generous £63.37 back as a result if the bet does win. Now, soccer, football as we prefer to call it, is not the only popular accumulator sport. So let's look at another sport too. Horse racing tends to be massively popular amongst accumulator bettors. There's generally loads of horse racing on throughout every day of the week, various race courses throughout the UK, and at each race course there'll be quite a few race meetings where there'll be a few horses, anything from like 3 up to like 10 or 12 horses available to bet on. Now the same goes with what we just said about betting on the favourites in football. Often if you were to go and place a £10 bet on a certain horse to win a race, you generally might not win much back. You might not make much profit from that bet if they were a really short price favourite. So that's why horse racing is popular with accumulator bettors, because we can combine these horses together, just like we've just done with the football, and hopefully get a better return. So we're going to find horse racing the same way we found soccer, simply by clicking on the list on the left hand side of the main page. Now let's have a look at an example. As you can see here, we're just going to play around and find 3 short priced horses. So we're browsing around these meetings for today, and looking at what horses are available to bet on. So we're going to go along with Weight to Excel in the 258 at Ripon. We've got Hang in There and Getaway Duel in the 350 and 425 races at Market Raisin. Individually, for casual punter, none of these horses are going to be particularly lucrative. Often people like betting on, big outsiders in horse racing that have quite big odds. But you can see in this case, by putting these 3 favourites together in a small accumulator, we've got ourselves a bet play paying over 7 to 1. That's just over 8 in decimal odds. So you can see now that all we have to do is check over the bet and select our stake. So if we were to put a £5 on, you can see that we'd get around about 40 quid back from that. So as always, check everything over in great detail before you place your bet, and hit the place bet button in the bottom right. This is the bet slip. We always advise that people place, just before placing their bet, they do have a good check through that everything that they've added to the bet slip is correct, because if you've gone and clicked on the wrong thing by accident, or if you're on a phone and you've tapped on the wrong thing when you're in a rush and you go and place your bet, the money will be taken from your account, and there's no way really of cancelling that bet. If you go and instantly cash it out, you'd make an instant loss, unless that bet was in play and something had happened within that match or event to increase your cash out value of that bet. But if you were to jump onto the customer service line or onto the live chat and say to a bookie, I made a mistake when I was placing my accumulator and I placed the wrong bet, can you cancel it for me? They're going to say no, because it's in their terms and conditions that you basically check everything over before you place the bet. And you wouldn't believe how many people will go and put £50 bets on and they've clicked on the wrong thing, especially when they follow an advice from someone else that's giving them tips on a horse or on a football market to bet on. That's the end of this tutorial on how to do an accumulator with Bet365. The process is pretty similar on the phone. Bet365 is just a little bit different to navigate, because you've got the menu and the little menu bar in the top left hand corner. You should see the bet slip pop up at the bottom. Accumulator, now sometimes it's not always called an accumulator. If you're from the USA, you'll better know it as a parlay. So it's always worth just checking out the bet slip, having a good look, and checking the bookie help guide just to make sure that pretty much you know what you're doing, really. But that's it. If you check out the rest of our channel, we've got loads of explainer videos on, particularly on Bet365 and the other popular bookies, on how to do certain things on there, such as placing multiple bets, withdrawing, checking your bets, cashing out, editing your bets, and things like that. So give a subscribe or a thumbs up if you like.